He's a cop, and he totally lied about what happened. I got screwed. It was self-defense. And I'm like, hey, man, if I get in a fight with an inmate, we're not saying anything, right? It's whatever. We'll just go do our little 15 days, 20 days, 30 days in segregation. But I got ADSEC, which is administrative segregation. I'm in there for 6 months. 6 months. You know? Yeah. That's a long fucking time.
With no privileges.
Just, you're dwindling away. No sun, no weights. You come out, like, people are like, damn, I thought you were dead. Like, yeah. Are you okay? You got cancer or something?
Yeah.
Like, it's fucked up. And then, and he's a cop. He's a cop, right? You're like, hey, you're not in this game with us. Why are you, like, just totally got screwed. And so as he's opening that door, he's pissed because all the dudes banging on the door, kicking the door and yelling, open the fucking door. So when I got to the door, now keep in mind, I'm like 20th back. By the time I got to the door, I was like, hey, Officer Burke, you know, because I had a rapport with the guy because of the food thing. I said, hey, Officer Burke, I said, don't let that shit bother you. You know, don't let that shit bother you. I just tried to give him a little, like, hey, because he was pissed. He's like, who the fuck is banging on the door? He's like all mad and yelling and fucking cussing. And I'm just like, hey, Officer Burke, don't let that shit bother you.
Yeah.
Because I'm just chilling.
I want to keep you in a good mood so I can get my food.
Yeah. Or other things. Just chill out, dude.
Chill out. Where's my chicken? You know?
Yeah. He's making me crave chicken as he's talking.
So sure enough, there's the dude I know, Casey, and another dude on the lap machine. And I'm like, Casey, can I jump in? Yeah, go ahead. So I'm doing the weights. And as I'm doing the set, Casey's like, hey, that officer's yelling at you. And I'm like, who? I look back, it's Officer Burke. He's just being obnoxious. He's always like that. So I just was like, I'm like, you know, that's nothing. And so I'm still doing my set. And he's like, no, dude, he's yelling at you. And he's like pointing at you. So I turn around and I'm like, sure enough, he's fucking pissed. And he's like directing all his energy on me. So I go over there. I say, hey, Officer Burke. I'm like, what's wrong, man? And he's like, hey, don't be coming in my fucking gym like that. I'm like what? So he thought that I was the one banging on the door.
So what'd you tell him?
And then you came in and told him to chill out.
Yeah, and then you're like,
but I didn't say chill out. I said, hey, don't let that bother you. I said, hey, Officer
don't let
Burke.
me bother. Yeah, he thinks it's him.
Yeah, he thinks it's
so
you.
it shows he's not that smart.
Right.
He's a fucking idiot. So I talk about him ill because I still want the heads with him. He didn't beat me. I got him. But I still want him because I hate him. Because what I had to go through. It was fucking sucked.
But he's not the reason. He's poking at wounds that were already there. He's not the original wounder.
So what I told him, I said, hey, man. I said, I'm trying to think of what I exactly told him. Because this was a long time ago. I think this was like, this was probably about 1999. I told him something like, hey, man. I said, I'm not the one who's banging on the door, but I just skipped right past that. I said, but hey, who the fuck do you think you're talking to like this? I just went right to that. I'm like, hey, man, I wasn't the one banging on the door, but hey, we got another issue here, right? Because forget that.
Because it's a respect thing.
Yeah. And it's like, who the fuck you think you're talking to like that? And then it was weird. He had a cup of juice and he just was like, when I said that to him, his eyes went wide and he just fucking threw the fucking juice in my face. And it was like slow motion. I seen the juice in the air coming at me. I don't know if it hit me in the face or hit me in the chest or just in this area. I was already swinging as like the juice in my fist passed. They passed in the air. And I like 3-pieced him. He was a big fat motherfucker. So he just, when I pushed him and he went against the wall, he just slid down the wall. The cops came in. There was like a bunch of cops that came in and I was just on top of him. And what was really cool, I didn't say this earlier, but he's black. It was really cool about, and the reason I'm bringing that up now is because all these black convicts, inmates, I'll say inmates because that's the way they acted that day because there's codes, right? All these black inmates, when that happened, all the Hispanics who knew me and their friends who didn't know me, and all the whites who knew me and their friends who didn't know me, they all stood up and just stood like between the cops and me. And they said, nope. They said, we all seen what happened. That fucking officer attacked him first. And they told the cops that came in. And the cops who came in were like, whoa, 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 whoa. They got scared.
Yeah.
They're like, because they were way outnumbered.
Yeah.
And they were like, we just want to find out what happened. We just want to find out what happened. Jeremiah, can you just come with us? And the Hispanics and the white dudes are like, that's your call, Jeremiah. You just let us know. You want to go or not? They're down. They're ready to go. And the black dudes all went over there and just were like,
not going to say nothing.
Not going to say nothing.
But
there is that racial divide in prison, though. There is. And I knew a lot of the black guys, and I've been locked up with a lot of them. And I'm pretty sure he was probably bringing in stuff for a lot of them. I mean, hell, I seen what he was doing. And we heard rumors that he was doing things. And there's videotapes in the gym. There's videotapes everywhere. The videotapes were not working that day.
Oh, of course.
And yours truly, I had to go sit and seg. And I was making some good gains on the weight pile. I get those ups. And that's what sucks.
Like, now I'm all skinny. Got to start over. Don't get my chicken. Yes, but all that scenario is a reflection of what is unresolved in your energy with your mother. It feels like that felt, because your mom was the one that would fight with you, right? She was abusive with you.
Yeah, it's like,
because even the juice to me is like, when you're a child, like juice is the drink that would get thrown in your face.
I think you're right on the first point that I think when you're a kid, when you're helpless, I think you deal with things in a certain way, like you take abuse, and then I think once there's a point where you can defend yourself. I'll give you an example. I actually left my mom when I was 12, 13, went to my dad in California, but that only lasted so long. I mean, how long can you deal with that? My dad tried, but we were fighting, and I went back when I was 16. And by then I'd been living in those neighborhoods that were wild in California, because we moved from Northern California behind that bar, and we moved down towards the Bay Area. So, I mean, now we're in cities, and we're, there's Crips, and there's Laos Crips, and Black Crips, and there's Hispanic gangs, and there's like, I was hanging around. I had some Norteño friends and some Sereno friends, and there was that in Connecticut too, a little exposure to that in that neighborhood it was wild.
See how race though comes up a lot for you? Well,
it's just
but that's the upbringing that you had.
It's putting it in perspective. Like, I wasn't living in Cherry Creek, and I wasn't.
But that's why when you say you're not racist, we could say, yeah, you're not. Racist is like a funny thing because it's like has a negative connotation, but you see race. You're very much aware of race all the time.
Well,
because of the environments you grew up in.
Yeah, there was white people in those neighborhoods, but I didn't want to say it. It's weird because it's an unfortunate fact of the neighborhoods that we lived in. They were poorer neighborhoods. So maybe I should say it in that manner, because it's I didn't want to say that there was poorer white people, because then I didn't want to down or make the black people or the Hispanic people or the Asian people in those neighborhoods look less than. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But just that, like, if I'm looking from a psychological perspective, like, the reason race like is an issue in your life is because, like, you grew up, you were very much aware of race because of everything from neighborhoods to prison. Like, so your mind is, so you could say, I'm not a racist. I get along with all of them, but racism is being fully aware. Like, it's hard for people to be like, oh, we're just all humans, right?
You had to navigate.
Yeah. And so your little self was very much aware. Like, I have to be able to navigate these different backgrounds.
Yeah, because those Laos that I knew, they didn't fuck with anybody but Laos.
Yeah.
Like they gave me my first gun when I was 13, 14. They gave me my first gun. It was a 357 revolver.
Mm-hmm. But like, if you
they just handed it to me. They didn't even. They had no like white friends.
But if you told this story without any race, like if you were just like, yeah, and then these guys in the neighborhood gave me like, but your whole, your psychology is based on race, but
not just race. I think if I'm talking about religion,
race, religion, class.
Yeah, because I feel like I've always had to navigate those things.
Yep. And that's why even as an adult, you're still navigating that.
Huh.
But that moment that you got in the fight with that guy, because originally at the beginning of this conversation, you said your issue is about respect.
Right.
And so part of your mother showed you no respect. And that's where you get that's where that anger comes from, because when you're the dominant parent and you're a child and you're saying, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Because think about this, putting a child in a quote cage wasn't even like a proper, like a playpen or, right? It's like she took the door off of, what did you say? The dishwasher?
The
crib.
Yeah.
And that's what we do for a dog.
Yeah.
So your psyche is like, she treated you like an animal. So you grew up in your most primal instincts. So you're going to move through the world like that. But then you had these other programs where like these other people came in and like you got a little bit of, right? You got like some education in a private school. Then it's like trying to civilize, domesticate, because that's what prison is. It's about domestication. It's taking the wild animal and making it follow the rules. And you did that from the day you were born. When she's like, I got things. So you're like a puppy, right? You know, and they say this with respect. This is like hard to think about, but like, I'm going to the bar and this baby, this isn't a puppy. You know, people worry about putting a puppy in a situation like that. What if that gate falls? What if they, right? And here you are, you're a child. So your psyche already is like, I'm an animal. So you already are going to fight your way. And think about like things that are so getting a drink. There are things that are so disrespectful. Getting a drink thrown in your face, being spit on. There are certain, even in a prison system, there's certain behaviors that you just don't do. So you don't, like, for a child. So why I said juice is, to me, maybe you would say, oh, it's not that. I'm like, to me, it's a child would have juice thrown at them, not a drink. So if she abused you the way you said, you went to school bleeding, like, so she probably threw things at you, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
I got hit with everything in the house.
Because you're like a dog. You're just an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And so this is why respect is so important to you, because you're like, you don't respect. That is not how you treat a baby. Like, people don't really treat babies disrespect. How do you treat a baby disrespectful?
So in between the ages of 8 and 12, there were so many times where she would go meet up with people and she would like leave me in the car. She'd be like in a bar or in a guy's house and she would leave me in the car too, like for hours.
Like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I bet you, I wonder, and maybe we'd have to look to see if you have the energy of the dog in your Mayan Nawals, because that, you know, people with that energy often end up in prison. They often end up, you know, drugs, law. They have issues with law, or they become a lawyer, a judge, a cop. But just this story, I'm like, this is why respect is so important to you, because you didn't get it from the get-go, from your mother. So you're like, I'm going to find a way to show up in the world where I'm going to command respect. So nowhere else can you learn how to understand respect than in the prison system. Right? Prison system is all about like who's showing who respect.
Yeah, it's mind-numbing sometimes.
Yes.
How crazy it gets.
Yes.
There's no forgiveness.
No.
Yeah.
And so think about like, but when you were talking, I'm like, this is why you would have ended up, and not only in jail or in prison, but in SEG, because when you were in that cage, you were alone. So that's all you know. So you end up in these places where you spend large amounts of time alone.
This episode is brought to you by the Josh Henry Workshop, where craftsmanship meets purpose. Whether you're in the kitchen slicing up dinner, out in the woods, or just need a reliable everyday carry, the Josh Henry Workshop has you covered. Every knife is handmade and hand-forged in the good old USA in North Carolina by a veteran-owned small business that puts heart, heritage, and pride into every blade. Michael, what do you think about the Josh Henry Workshop knives?
Jeremiah, I love the quality of the Josh Henry Workshop knives. These are not mass-produced tools. They are custom pieces built to last, with real attention to detail. So if you're looking for a knife that works as hard as you do, check out the Josh Henry Workshop. You'll find your new favorite blade, and you'll be supporting a small business that truly cares about the craft. Visit the Josh Henry Workshop on either Instagram or Facebook at Josh Henry Workshop to learn more or to place a custom order today.
So you then have now in your adult life, so you had these other experiences where you went to private school, you saw your grandparents, like, you know what means look like, having means looks like, you know, that feast or famine. So people who experience that as a child, that's how I was raised too, is feast or famine. You then learn how to survive with nothing. That's why you're like, I didn't care if I had a sandwich and a light bulb. I just knew I wasn't getting my ass kicked, right? So but then you also go, well, I also know what it's like to live in a nice house and have nice things. So I'm going to aspire, I'm going to work to get that. But I also can totally survive in a one-room trailer with nothing. And I understand that. Like, I lived, you know, with a dad who was like $600 sushi dinner, and then my bonus dad used to poach in the middle of the night so we'd have meat for the winter, you know. And so that mentality, that program goes into your subconscious, and so you then spend your life repeating. And so that's why it's like, well, she put you in a cage, and so your shadow is like, oh, I have to end up in a cage. But the respect you're seeking was from your mother. The minute your mother would have given you respect wouldn't be such, disrespect wouldn't bother you so much.
Yeah.
But disrespect bothers you so much because you're like, no, this is like there is a human behavior that anytime, like, I come from Mexican and Italians, and you do not spit in people's face unless you want them dead. Like, spitting on somebody is like the curse of death. It's like the worst. It's the most disgusting thing. And those kind of things, throwing a drink, there's a level of like, there's one thing like getting big chested, and there's one thing like throwing a drink. That's like crossing the line.
Yeah, I remember when I was becoming a teenager, like 12, 13, 14 or something, there was some kids, not a lot, there were some kids who like to spit on other kids.
It's just,
and that shit, I was like, if you spit on me, it's going to be a problem. Like, yeah. I don't play that way. I even tell my kids now, it's funny that you bring that up, because I tell my kids now, you don't spit at somebody. Yeah. But I'm trying to find and I've done well, and I did jiu-jitsu for a while, and that really helped me in my mind. I'm trying to do better with, like, being able to say to somebody, hey, fuck you, goodbye. Like, fuck you, you're wrong. What you're doing is disrespectful. What you're doing is, you're not being a good person. Oh, fuck you want to fight? Nah, fuck you, I don't want to fight. Or, you know,
yeah.
Just still voicing.
I don't need you in my life. Like,
yeah, still voicing my opinion.
Yeah.
But not going to the extent, because what's going to happen? What's going to happen, especially if it's me?
Yeah, you will repeat a pattern you've already repeated.
Or I have a record.
Yes.
You know, I get into it with somebody else, and they're like, oh, yeah.
Even if it wasn't your fault, it's going to look like it was your fault.
Yeah.
And especially with this energy. But I would say, you know, when you get to it, when it doesn't bother you anymore, I don't, like, what I would want you to get to is a place where you don't need to even say anything. Like, you're just done. Like, I don't need to tell you.
Yeah, especially a stranger.
Yeah, I don't need to. I don't
if it's like
anything.
A family member, it's like, hey, maybe we need to have a conversation.
Yes.
Hey, I don't like the way you're acting.
Yes.
And et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
But a stranger, yeah, what's the big deal to just walk away? What does it
Yeah.
matter? You might not ever see that person again.
Yeah. And I was raised really in that environment of respect was a big thing for, like, I was raised in cultures that were like big on eldership, like your elders, respect your elders. I don't care if it's your cousin who's 1 year older than you, he's your elder. And so he might want to smoke a joint with you, but you still need to respect him.
I'll give you an example. So you know who owns your building. You know that. And you know me from that. That's how we know each other. And you know I didn't like people parking in the parking lot, whatever, and that's kind of how you and me first met. So recently, you're the owner of your building, he's been on one about anybody parking anywhere. He put up the barrier on that other building. He doesn't even let people walk down that sidewalk. They have to walk back around towards the street.
Yep.
And I'm like, Jerry, oh, sorry, I said his name. I'm like, dude, whatever. And then he's like, they're parking in your lot too. And I'm like, who's parking in my lot? He's like, all those people. He's like, those people going to that thrift store over there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go talk to the thrift store. I'm going to tell them they can't have people parking on my lot. I was game for that. That's fine. You know, I walk in there. They've got, it's not a huge room. I mean, I don't know if it was like 50 feet by like 30 feet or something. I walk in there. So when you walk in the doors, they've got some tables set up. Like there's just having some people selling some things on the table. It's all elderly Native American people selling handcrafted stuff.
Is it Ormond's? Ormond's? What's it called? It moved from South Broadway to there. That's where that's at now.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
So I walk in there and I'm like, fuck this. I'm not going to tell a bunch of elderly Native American. I own a property that, and I'm talking about race, but let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm talking about race and why I think it's important in a lot of contexts. In this, especially in this one, I own a property. I'm fortunate enough to be making money on a property, on land that these people used to have all of.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was like, bad juju.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think so.
But you know what? I will tell you, because I'm there. I don't even think it's their people that are parking there. There's a martial arts school there. There's a wedding shop. Everybody parks in your lot.
Sure, but at that particular moment,
yeah, no, I wouldn't say it.
It was all so the guy. I said, "Who's in charge here?" And it was a younger guy. He's mixed. I'm saying he's mixed because he's you could tell he's. You could tell.
See how much race is a part of.
No, you could tell like he's into the culture. But he's part white too. Yeah. So he's kind of got that vibe. And
he's probably got one parent that is.
Yeah, I'm like, cool. This is cool. This is a cool guy already, right? Mixed. That's cool. I like when people are mixed. All my kids are mixed. I just like seeing the differences in people.
Yeah.
And how people can come together like that and make a human being. I've always liked that. So I tell the guy, I said, hey, what's going on here? And he kind of said, oh, we're selling this. I said, okay. I know Jerry, you guys have a problem with him over there and the parking situation. I said, my lot's here. And I said, but hey, don't worry about it, man. I even told the guy, him the same thing I just said right now. I said, from what I see, it's a bunch of elderly Native American people selling the jewelry and the beadwork that they made. I said, I don't feel right.
Especially my thing is, it's not bothering anybody.
No.
But that one time I had that festival, I had to go to that building because there's a bunch of cars that parked there. Even though we put a barricade up, they still squeaked in. And they were all martial arts students. That's who was parking there.
But and that's fine too.
Yeah.
If it was like a liquor store or something that's like, I don't really give a shit about.
Well, and if we were using all the spots, we're not. There's extra spots because but yeah, but those are the little things. Also, like, why do we have to?
He ran out after that. After I walked back to my property and I was like by my truck and stuff, and I was doing something with another tenant of mine. They walked back. They brought me, or they said, you want to come? You can have food, fry bread, and they were just trying to bring me food, and like they were so happy.
They're like, cool. We don't have a problem with the guy, with the white guy.
Yeah,
I see what you did there.
I know what she did. Do you think that's bad that I describe things in that way?
It's not bad. It just tells me where your awareness is.
I mean, even outside of these conversations, like I feel like it comes up a lot. Like my wife's black, so we're out front of the house and we're talking, and Jeremiah will bring it up or he'll make a joke or something like that. And it's never, it's never like, it's clearly like not malicious, but it is a common theme, like all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you listen back on this conversation, like I think you've mentioned every race. No, I'm just kidding.
But I'll say things too, even to your wife. I'll be like, you know how white people are.
Yeah.
Or like,
yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
you know how we are.
Yeah.
It's just something your mind,
Yes.
you know how your mind just lives in that space. And I think there's a lot of people who think, well, it's bad to even talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I'm sure people would get upset by that, but like,
yeah,
you know.
because I will even be curious what they think of this conversation, because in this day and age, it's like you can't even bring it up without, and you're not being malicious, but it is like, it's those stereotypes, right? When we use certain language, people think it's being stereotypical, or you're lumping everybody in one thing. And it's like, you're coming from and this is what I teach. You're coming from your experience in life. So people are going to want to tell you you can't say this or that, or you can't, but this is what how you were raised. This is what this little boy realized very early on. How do I survive? Because that's all you're thinking about. How do I survive my mother? How do I survive at school? How do I survive my dad? Right? Because you even said hippie guys. You even brought up that you didn't just say some guys, you said hippie guys.
Yeah. And even when I talk about the different people in the different areas that I've grown up, I'm not even getting in. You're
just talking about how you view the world.
Well, I'm not even scratching the surface of everything that I had to experience because of the differences.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of, I guess, what I'm alluding to.
Yeah.
Without explaining.
Yeah.
And hoping other people can just make their own assumptions.
Yeah.
I don't know, because to save a lot of time in the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say to you in your, if we look at it from a psychological analysis, you still have deep mother wounds around this respect thing.
So I don't have daddy issues. I got mama issues.
Yeah, your moms are bigger than your dad's. Because this is the thing. A lot of people, especially men, I think dads always get a lot of slack because my dad did X, Y, and Z, but he's my dad. But moms, if mom didn't bond with you, if mom didn't love you,
nurturer.
If mom didn't fight for you, if mom was a prostitute, but she did it to feed you, she's forgiven. But if mom was a prostitute so she could feed her habit, this is a problem.
Yep.
Moms get a lot, and I feel for moms
dads
because
are conquerors. So when they go and they
leave,
because my dad was gone a lot of my life.
They leave, but maybe they'll come back.
Yeah.
But the mom, if you don't have, if your mother didn't want you, the rest of the world, nobody's gonna. Because let's face it, mother's the only one that want you.
Do you know Jesse Lee Peterson? He has a podcast. He always talks to people, and everything he says that's wrong with people, he always equates it to your mom.
Yep.
Your mom damaged you, he says.
Yep.
Always.
And I feel for mothers, because what a burden because even the best of mothers, kids will, adults will say, oh, my mom slammed the door in my face when I was playing piano, right? Moms get and I just say to moms, look, if you did the best you could, like you really did make an effort, good for you. Like your kid will come around at some point when they're older and they understand. But 99% of the time, our mothers are we are mad at our mothers. I encourage people all the time. You want to be happy. You want to heal fast. Forgive your parents. Forgive your parents.
It's crazy. Like I spent my whole life waiting for my mom to be out of my life. And I always used to say, man, I know when the day comes that she passes away, I'll have a relief. And when she died, I was like, I told my sister, this was recently, I said, man, I almost was thinking the other day I was going to call mom. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yep. When people think like when they say I haven't seen my family in 20 years, I'm like, this isn't good for you. And they're like, oh no, they're toxic. And I'm like, it depends on the situation, but that's what happens. Death doesn't solve it. You actually create more problems, because then you think about all the unspoken things. Like it's good that you guys had some time, but yeah, like what could have happened after that point? What could have happened had she lived another 20 years? And where you are in your maturity and your consciousness and your forgiveness and understanding now, gosh, she was a child. Like, you know, sometimes I go to the grocery store and I'm like, these are children waiting on me. These are 15-year-olds. And then you see one with a baby, or you know what I mean? You see a 20-year-old with a baby and you're like, this, no wonder we don't know what the hell we're doing. You don't know nothing at 20. You don't know barely anything at 30.
And then nobody believes in like raising a family together too.
And that's the other problem. Like
having the full balance.
Yes. Because a lot of times we are pack animals. We're tribal people, all of us, not just native people. Our being is, we come, you know, whether we come from animals or whatever, we're supposed to have community. And so when the mother can't care for the child, somebody should be there to step in. And yours was spotty, right? It was like someone come in and they disappear. They come in, they disappear. So one thing that we could do to heal the world, I fully believe this, is take care of the mothers. Like the minute a woman has a baby, everyone should rally around her. We should give that one, because people don't understand, like, okay, your mom was doing drugs, then she was postpartum. And when hormones dip, that's the highest chance of relapse. When women are in recovery, we have to track their moon cycles, because when they're PMSing, that's the most vulnerable they are to relapsing. So, postpartum, she was probably feeling terrible and also struggling with addiction. She can't show up for you. And so had she had the right kind of care, she would have been able to get sober. She would have been fed properly. You know, a woman needs 2 years to recover from childbirth before she should even be out and about. She shouldn't be out and about. She shouldn't be cooking and cleaning and working. Like, the best cultures, the best way a child should come into the world is that mother and baby are alone 40 days, just home resting 40 days. Family comes in to help clean and care for the mom so she can rest and whatever. Mom should only be focused on the baby. We have a culture that mothers go back to work in 2 weeks. What is that, 14 days? Like, they're not even recovered. Then we have, you know, sometimes babies come along, another baby comes along before mom is 2 years recovered. So then you put her through that for another 9 months. So then baby doesn't get her, and now a new baby comes in, you know, like Irish twins, they're like 18 months apart or whatever. I think 18 months. And so then the mother's totally depleted. So when you hear these stories of a mother having a mental breakdown, killing her kids, running away, they can't handle. Their hormones are shot, their energy's shot, they're exhausted, they're emotional, they feel alone, they're overwhelmed. Mothers need so much care. And so your poor mom had all of that, plus relationship problems, plus whatever, and then
running away from her parents to have the baby.
Exactly.
So didn't have that support.
She didn't have that support. As soon as you said that, I thought, man, right there, they already, you know. And then if she had an abortion before, her body also was dealing with that hormone flux. And so women have a lot of psychological issues because of their hormones. We're not just crazy. Hormones are a real thing. They make you feel crazy. Women have all kinds of issues that they have to deal with just because their hormones flux. Track your wife's cycle. Like, we all know, right? Like, PMS time, if she's mad, just bring her food and just say, whatever you need, honey. And like, because it's a real thing. Like, they want to run away. They hate everybody. Everything is overwhelming, right? Dopamine drops. And then you add drugs into that. This person isn't well. She can't take care of a baby. And so she's like, the thing is we could give her, like, gosh, she had you, and she's like, okay, if I put him in a spot here and put a gate up, he won't hurt himself. So obviously there was some part of her that cared enough, right? And we could say, oh, that's no, it's she cared enough to like gate you in and make sure you didn't like get tangled up in the cord on the window blinds, you know what I mean? So there's some part like, okay, but I've seen this where women's like, and we blame the women a lot for when they drop the ball as parents, and that's a lot of pressure, and for generations, and it's getting worse because women are getting addicted to drugs more. Women are opting, they're just not, the whole system isn't set up to take care of a woman. And if we don't take care of the women, our whole society doesn't function well. So, you know, in my community, we really encourage, like, if somebody's had a baby, like, everybody sends, like, food trains and, like, what do you need? And go, you know, get a doula so she could at least come wash your dishes and hold the baby while you shower. If you ask a mother what she needs, she's like, I need a nap and a shower. They're not asking you for very much. Like, it's like, you go shower, I'm going to take care of the baby, and then you go sleep for whatever hours, you know. But other than that, like, we should be taking care of her until that child, because then that child gets a good 2 years of mom connection, love, support. That child then is like, okay, now I can go into the world and start to figure out the rest. But I know my mom's solid with me.
I don't even think we understand, or most people understand, any of this.
No, they don't. And our medical system has, we consider it like they stole the birthing process from women. Women are intuitive. The baby knows how to communicate with the mother. So during pregnancy and childbirth, the baby is dictating. If the mother listens to her intuition, that's the baby guiding her. What we do is, like, we tell women lay down and they give them medication and they're like, now you don't feel anything, and it's like all backwards. Where women, if they feel like in childbirth, if they feel I need to get up and walk, they should be allowed to get up and walk. If they don't want drugs, there's a lot that they don't understand. And from my perspective of, like, if your mom is medicated when you come in, like, you're already feeling a disconnect from mom, because all of a sudden we're not communicating. She's kind of loopy, and I'm communicating with you as I'm trying to come out. And so we have to take all those things into consideration. And I think women should at least have the knowledge, like, you know, hey, do what you want. It's your body, your baby, but you should have the knowledge first. But they trust so much in doctors that they just do what the doctor says. I have a community member who is a midwife, and she wrote a book. It's like the baby-led, I always forget the name of it, baby-led birth, and she talks a lot about that. And I call her the baby catcher. She's like, oh, she has home births all the time. She has home births that the baby comes out purple, wrap the cord around. She's like, yeah, it took me 5 minutes to get the baby to, like, come back. And she does it with such ease. And she's like, babies know what they're doing.
Now,
like,
keep this in front of you.
Sorry.
You just get low for a second.
They know that the baby knows what to do if the mother just listens, right? And so she's like, even if the baby comes out like that, she's like, we just stay calm, we unwrap the cord, and, you know, do all of the little things, and the baby will come back. The baby knows what it's doing. But we have disconnected mom. And it's like the turtles. I always use a turtle analogy. When turtles come out of the shell, they need to walk across the land to the ocean, and people want to rescue them, right? They're like, oh, let's pick them up and help them so that the birds don't catch them, because as soon as they start to come out, the birds are coming, right?
The crabs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the turtle needs to walk upon the sand to imprint the information so that it knows where to return to. So if you pick up that turtle and throw it in the water, that turtle goes into the ocean and is lost at sea for the rest of its life. It's the same as a baby connecting with the mother's heartbeat. If I put that baby on her chest, that baby knows where home is. When you pick up that turtle and you don't let it, it's lost. This baby, without that connection, it's lost.
So just shoo away the birds and the crabs.
And some of it's nature.
I know, but I'm saying if you want to help.
Yes, if you want to help, get a flag and shoo them away. But if not, you know, nature also, this is where I say we're soft. Nature those birds need to eat.
Yep, it's true.
So some of those turtles aren't going to make it because that's my dinner.
Can't save them all.
And there's like a million or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we interfere with nature, and nature knows what it's doing. Like, leave it alone.
Yeah.
But so in our experience then, poor mom, you know, you come out of the womb and mom she's on call from day one. And if she drops the ball even a little bit, mom, you screwed me up. And if she dropped it a lot, then you got a lot of mommy issues.
So this is all just beautiful stuff. And thank you for your insight. I wanted to go back to the Egyptian thing a little bit. And tie it into this a little bit, because I had a question that I think connects to this. So you were saying that there was a lot of the writings that tie into a lot of like, hey, here's your personalities, here's how we are, here's how you navigate life, and there's a lot of teachings there, it sounds like.
Yeah, like the cow, the worshiping of the cow, they say is because they connect usually Hathor with the cow because she's a mother, but she's the young mother, and the cow represents the breastfeeding. And so the cow was worshipped because it was like the Hathor carries that same energy of being able to breastfeed. And so they show the different phases of the mother. And one of them is, first there's the breastfeeding mother. And then there's like, Isis, who is like the unconditional mother. She's learned all her lessons. And so now she can show. So this is why now your mom comes into your life older and almost, at the end of her days, because now she's in that Isis phase where she's like, I've learned some things. Now I understand I didn't know. And now I can come from a place of when a person, because not just women, when a person has really learned the hard lessons and you get older, when you get older, you come to a place of like, wow, I caused myself a lot of drama and a lot of hardship, and a lot of everything was so dramatic and so serious. And so you get older and not only are you kind of tired, but you get more reflective and you're like, yeah, I now learned what not to participate in, right? Like you said, I'm not going to beat up this guy because I have a record and it's going to take me to jail. It's going to cause me a lot of things that are going to be not good for the life I live now. And so Isis represents that idea of like, now I'm knowledgeable. Now I know some things. So now I don't need to step where I've been before. In the Mayan tradition, we have the energy of the jaguar. And we say that the jaguar doesn't backtrack. We don't go back to where we've been. It's like we've learned our lesson. So the divine feminine understands this. It's like, I've learned all the things, I've made all the mistakes, and so I'm not going to go forward, or I'm not going to go back into that snake pit again, or into that isolation, or and so now that I know things, I also can understand. Older people will say like, I'm going to give you some advice, but I also understand that you're young and dumb and you probably won't take it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, and hopefully you'll hear me somewhere. But I'm also going to have patience with you and understand you because we've been there. I've already been there.
So in the midst of all of this chaos in my childhood, there was one thing that one of my grandmas told me. And there's always those things, right? There's always some things that people tell you when you're younger that stick with you, right? So that's why I recommend, and people have always said this, say something to that kid,
yes,
that kid that's in a bad spot, or just any kid. Just say something good to them, because you never know what's going to stick or help them. And and the thing that she said was, she said, remember, you learn something every day. And so like, if you're young and you're dumb, just remember, hey, every day try to level up, try to get better, and try to get smarter.
Yeah, and I think when we deal with young people, like you understand that, and yes, you say things to guide them along the way. And like I helped raise my nephews in their young 20s now, and I'll say things to them like, hey, I'm a little concerned, I'm looking at ahead, and just, you need to watch this. I have a nephew that's not great at communication. And so I'll say to him, like, you need to get better at communicating. This is going to be a problem in relationships when you're older. But I also understand why. So then when he doesn't communicate well, I'm like, oh, this kid, got to call him again, right? Like, answer your damn phone. But I understand. But then it's also like there comes a point when they reach a certain age, like, you got people hitting 35, 40, and it's like, okay, you're not 20 anymore. So what have you learned, and why are you still making the same mistakes? Where are we stuck? But we get stuck in the consciousness, in the shadow. This is why I always bring awareness to the shadow, because you can say like, I just have an issue with disrespect. But when you understand the reason you have an issue with disrespect is because you didn't feel respected by your mother, there's a difference there. Now you're going to see it differently. You're not just looking for respect. You're understanding why.
Yeah. Why can't you say, I had an issue with this or that?
Yeah.
Why do you have to keep living like, well, that's just the way I am, because that's that's just what I.
Well, and the thing that happens is, especially as we grow older, we're like, we learn, but we stuff things into the shadow. We're like, I don't really know what to do with this. So I'm just going to, like, all your feelings about your parents is like, I don't really know what to do with this. I'm in jail, I'm in prison, or I'm married and I got kids. I don't have time to analyze my childhood. It gets shoved in there, but it gets shoved in the shadow. And then what happens is the shadow is the one driving the bus. So the shadow is like, here's another situation where you're disrespected. Here's another situation that people don't do what they say. Here's another situation to trigger that wound that you already have. But that person isn't, like, that guy, that cop wasn't your original. He only came because you already had that wound. He's like, I have the key that pokes at that wound. And so you're going to attract people that are going to keep bringing that wound to the surface. Excuse me, because the shadow is like, we haven't learned this lesson. The minute you see why you do this, then it all stops. Then all of a sudden you will be respected everywhere you go. Respect won't even be an issue.
Yeah. And I think people need to be careful in this society. It's a great society. America's a great place. Mm-hmm. But I think they need to be careful when it comes to the freedoms that we have, the freedoms to do dumb shit, and the capitalism. You have to balance that, because I've noticed, and this is why I want to retire early. I'm trying to be done by 53. I'm not working right now, but I do have to go back to work because I need some more dinero. But because I got to finish this house.
He's got to add more bricks to the big house.
More bricks. Well, the drywall and the tile and all the other stuff isn't done. But, and plus health insurance, I just got to figure that out. But I think you should retire as early as possible. I don't think anybody should be working till 65, 70. I think find some other way to make money, even if it's not as much money as you made in your career.
Or not as hard of a hustle.
Yeah. But you have to live your life. And I think this capitalism thing that we do in this country, it puts so much importance on you need to make money, you need to make money, you need to make money. I think you should try to find a way to balance and get what you need to survive after a certain point. Hopefully you be smarter when you're younger, and so you can make better, you can retire earlier when you get older. But
well, that's the problem though. When you're young and dumb, you're not thinking like that. You're not thinking like, oh, you're thinking of the now, and you're not thinking, well, what am I going to need, when I'm 50 so that I can retire early? So some people it depends on the person. Some people go hardcore one way and they only work so they can retire. And I'm like, but you haven't enjoyed. What if you don't make it to retirement?
Yeah,
you didn't enjoy your life.
It's a gamble.
It is a gamble.
Yeah.
And then you got the other one who enjoyed all kinds but didn't save for winter, right?
Yep.
And so this is why I really work with people always in moderation. Everything needs to be in balance. Balance that Sobek and that Horus aspect of you. Balance the Isis and the Sekhmet. Like, you need to bring balance. If you like to have a couple drinks, have a couple drinks. Don't get trashed every night. Like, you have anything
Spend a little bit of money, save a little bit of money.
Anything in excess is going to take you out of balance either way. So if you're just hoarding, eventually that's going to come crashing down, because energetically you can't swing that pendulum one way without it swinging the other. So people can hoard, and then they end up sick and they spend all their money on their health, right? So I say, bring some balance. Like, okay, this much is going to go to my retirement. This much I'm going to go play with. Or say yes spontaneously to the trip that you weren't going to take, but now you're going to take it. And next year you'll just have to sock a few extra dollars.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Eat chicken and rice instead of beef.
Instead of sushi or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I think that what I feel when people work with me is to get them to a state of happiness is to bring what gives you the most peace. And, when you're older, usually what happens, not everybody, but usually what happens, you really want to simplify your life. And it's funny because when you're young, you want this complicated life. You're like, I want big money, I want fame, I want fortune, I want businesses, I want da-da-da. And then you get to a certain age and you're like, I'm exhausted and none of this, like, I'm so busy running my businesses, I don't even enjoy, right? Or depending on what the situation is. But 9 times out of 10, people say like, I just really want to be at peace. I don't want any drama. I just want to have a nice house to retire in. I want to visit with my family. Family dynamics change a little bit because you're tired of being angry. You're like, my parent's still my parent, but I'm going to see them for Christmas because, they may not be here next year. And so I try to encourage even young people, like, try to keep your life as simple as possible. You can live a fabulous life and not complicate and have great adventures. But part of why we're here is for the drama. We come to the Earth School to be in the drama because it's the education. So when your grandma says you learn something every day, yeah, that's the whole reason you're here. So if somebody said to me, oh, I should have done my life differently, I say, why? Because you learned what you were supposed to learn. You're exactly where you're supposed to be today. And now you can do better because you know better. But don't feel bad. Don't look back and say, I wish I, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Because if you did that, you wouldn't be where you are today. And think of the stories, right? You think back and you think like, man, I was just in my dad's trailer with one light bulb hanging, eating my sandwich. Like, that's living. That is what life is. Good, bad, hard, easy. Sometimes life is too easy. We go like, this is too easy. Like, I need some.
It felt more like life than when I was in way better situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had someone there who loved me, who, was giving me a sandwich, didn't eat,
It felt like love.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I feel like that's really what people are seeking, is what feels like love, what feels like safety, and not money, not the house, not the, knowing at the end of the day, my parents loved me and did the best I could. Like, if people can grasp that, if people will see me and they'll say, okay, so I go home and hash this out with my parents. And I'm like, no. They're like, why? And your parents aren't going to say the right things. You're going to go to them and say, Mom, you did this and this and this. And she's going to say, I don't remember. You're crazy. So I'm a bad parent now. Like, you're going to cause a whole bunch of drama. This is between you and that little kid. And all that you need to do is let that little kid know, like, look where we're at. Look at all you learned. What experiences. Like, we die and we go, wow. What a freaking ride that was. I want to come back again.
I said it earlier, and I want to say it again. You're on your own journey now.
You're on your own journey.
Don't worry about that.
No.
You don't have to sit there and throw darts at your parents.
No. When we're in the Mayan tradition, we have an energy. We have 20-day calendar, and one of the energies is the energy of Akapu, and that's the energy of the warrior, the spiritual warrior. And we always say the spiritual warrior is always alone. And we say, thank you, Mom and Dad, for your dropping the ball. Thank you for being the bad guy in my story so that I could be on the hero's journey, so that I could, we're all like Atreyu from Never Ending Story. Yeah. And we're just walking through mud and we're just fighting the things and we're just doing the things. And
I associate with those type of guys.
I do too. And I'm
like
a girl.
Good Will Hunting. That's like one of my favorite movies.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
And what do you learn? And look at, in that movie, he literally says, like, I'm going to go see the girl. Like, he has all these opportunities. He's like, I'm going to take this old man's advice. This old man is like, dude, go to the girl. Everything else will. And so he's like, I went to go see a girl, right?
Yeah.
And so
he went on his own journey
because it's your journey. And so if we can understand that, like, your parents did exactly what you probably agreed on before you got here. Like, hey, I'm going to think about that. Like, you had drug addiction and all of this so that I could have this life that I was learning.
I'm not going to waste my life chasing other people.
No.
I've even told my kids that. I said, look, if one of you became a drug addict and wanted to become a thief and a liar and all these other things that come with that, you're not going to find me chasing you around this town because I got 3 other kids I need to focus on. Or whatever.
Yep.
That's just an example. Right?
No. Because you know what that looks like. And people have to, I know addiction well. I've been around it. I have clients that have been in addiction, students. And I know one thing is for sure is people only get sober when they make the choice. They have to make the choice. No one can make it for them. You can't do it for your baby, for your job, for your kids, your partner, nobody. If you don't make it for you, you won't make it.
Obviously, that's a part of a longer conversation. I should clarify.
Yes,
I don't just come out and say, "Hey, if you ever decided to be a drug addict,"
no,
it's the longest.
No, but if
later.
you've been around drug addicts, you understand this, especially ones you've tried to save and rescue and help, and they don't take it, and you take them in and you clean them up and you get them back, and here they go again. And like, no, people who have been in those scenarios, they understand that. Hardest thing there is to do is turn your back on somebody like that. Because you love them, but you're like, I'm gonna drown with you if I don't let you go. I'm gonna have to let you go so you can figure it out. And that's hard. That's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we didn't even get to talk about flat Earth, aliens.
The Earth is flat, and there's cities underneath it.
What? Okay.
I joke that I'm a flat Earth dome I know we're going to finish up, but I joke that I'm a flat Earth dome contemplator, but I really like when I sit back and think about all the things that I've learned in all these different traditions about, like, why do we pray to the 4 directions? Why do we call 4 directions if we're on a sphere?
If it loops back around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like why they say the ancestors were dropped off and some went north, some went south, some went east, some went west, some went underground. These are ancient stories.
Yeah.
You know, it says in the Bible, God put the foundation of earth on its foundation. Like, you know, I just find it hard to believe that.
I can tell you one thing. Lately, I have just been freaking out. It feels like, I'm like, man, every day it feels like with this weird stuff that's going on, it feels like we're in a simulation. Like
we are in a simulation.
So Trump and Israel attack Iran. And then there's a ceasefire, and then Benjamin Netanyahu nominates Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. It's like, is this real?
I literally said that a while back. I said Trump's going to get the Nobel Peace Prize. I said that like
for what?
6 months ago.
Who knows?
In that situation, for what? Oh wait, you took nukes off the planet. But your own government said they didn't have them. Well,
this is my theory.
It just all seems so. I'm like, is this real?
This is my theory, is that we are, you know, there's multiple dimensions, and like you and I, we could be sitting here having this conversation in another dimension, and the topic, we could have recorded a whole other podcast in another parallel dimension. And so what I think is happening is that so we know that the humanity has been waking up, right? And I don't mean woke. I mean like consciously waking up, becoming more and more aware of like, I don't think what we've been told about our reality is true. And quantum physics is showing this and that and whatever, right? Our reality is a projection. This is what I teach, that your external reality is a projection of your internal, blah, blah, blah. I think what's happening is that we have collectively, because I've been doing this a long time, where before the harmonic convergence in 1987, there was like a belief that humans were, all that had just started. Like Ram Dass was coming from the East, and well, that was earlier, but he was bringing like spiritual teachings and talking about consciousness and all that kind of stuff. So humanity's consciousness has been slowly raising, going into higher states. So then we get with social media and the way we can spread information fast, things can happen faster. So one of the things, like I had a student recently say like, the spiritual community is like oversaturated. There's a healer on every corner now. You can find a quote shaman, a retreat person, right? When I was doing this, people were like, you do what? Like years ago, that this was like not a thing. Now it's everywhere, and they were frustrated by it. And I said, this is what my work has been all these years, is helping people get to a level of consciousness that we did have healers on every corner. Whether they're legit or not, we're aware of them. It's now an awareness. It's more common. Reiki is like paid for by your insurance now. It's like in mainstream healthcare, right? So we're waking up. So
what is it? Reiki?
Reiki. It's an energy modality.
Okay.
A healing
kind of like
modality.
how massage therapy, chiropractor,
but it's
psychologist.
It's without touch.
It's without touch.
Yeah,
they just like draw symbols.
Insurance
on
covers
you.
a lot of these things. So.
Yeah, so Reiki has moved. Reiki and acupuncture are starting to move into. It's been in mainstream. What I do is still a little bit rare. or not in mainstream. But anyway, so what I've seen is since we're coming into these higher states of awareness, we're then hyper aware. And when energy is observed, it changes its behavior. So when we observe something, it can then change its behavior. And when we observe reality will start to shift. Then you have CERN, who's like blowing up the what do you call it? They're looking for the God. I forget what it's called. They keep blowing up these. Do I want to call them cells? We'll have to look it up. But anyway,
like the God particle.
Yeah, the particle. Yeah. Thank you. Gosh, every time they explode a particle, they alter the reality.
I always worry that they're going to blow up the fucking planet.
I'm worried that what they keep doing is they keep sending us into different realities. So you wake up one day, you're just living your life, and the next day you wake up in a different reality because CERN blew up a particle.
So you think that's the effect?
I think that it's playing.
You never know.
It's playing
possible,
a part.
yeah.
It's playing a part. Then if we have more people aware that this is possibly a simulation, more people are then altering the simulation. And then we're being...
That might not be the same Michael I started with.
No.
Totally. It might be the fifth Michael.
He might be from the other dimension.
But if I watch the other videos, are they going to be different?
They can be. Well, remember I said, I think it was in the last
Sorry,
episode.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I said, what you think you create. And so if you change your mind about something, you change the reality of something. Every time you make a decision in the day, you open the possibility that other part of you that didn't go right, it's still happening.
I play with my life every day in a way where I just create it. It's so crazy. Like, you know me, I'm just... Every day I'm doing stuff and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do.
Keep him busy.
And
New ideas.
And I do it. And there's points, majority of it, I think, okay, that's just an off the shelf possibility, right? My resources are just off the shelf, so to speak. But then there's a portion of it I'm like, did I just manifest that?
Yes, you manifest everything. I laugh when my students come and they're like, look at the new car I manifested. And I'm like, yeah, look at the mountain and the air and the water, and you manifest all of that. We're one creator manifesting 24/7. Everything you think all day long, you create. That's why you have to know what's in that shadow, because that shadow is the one that's like, let's create another scenario. Let's have a conflict with your neighbor. Let's get in a fight with so-and-so. Let's get disrespected here. That's why we want the shadow to know, like, I see you, I know what's there. Because then when I consciously create, I don't have to worry about this interfering. So I'll give you an example. When people try to create money, right? When they're like, they want big money. Part of the problem is they'll say, I imagine it and I did ceremony and I wrote down affirmations. But before they fall asleep at night, they think about all the bills they have to pay, right? Or they think about, like, how am I going to get that money? I want to start a business. How am I going to get that money? So they lay in bed right before they fall asleep, and that's what goes into their subconscious. So there's an experiment that if you imagine climbing a ladder every night before you go to sleep, okay? So every night when you close your eyes before you fall asleep, you just imagine climbing whatever ladder, random ladders. In the daytime, you're going to tell everybody, hey, just letting you know, I'm not climbing any ladders. Okay, so all day long you say, I'm not climbing the ladder. You could write a note on your mirror. You could tell your wife, I'm not climbing any ladders today. What will happen is every night that you imagine climbing the ladder, out of nowhere, you'll just find yourself on a ladder. So I've had students do this, and they will call me the next day or a couple days later, a week later, and they're like, oh my God, like this one girl, she did this, and she said, yeah, I'm like adamant, no way am I going to get tricked into doing this. She said her kid threw one of those sticky toys and it stuck to the ceiling. So she goes, I get the ladder, I'm all the way reaching, and then I realized, I'm on a freaking ladder, right? And she didn't even think about it. As much as she's saying, I'm not going to get on. This other guy says, yeah, I walk into my mom's garage. She said,
I have no use to get on a ladder. I don't do it for work. I have nothing around the house that needs to be fixed.
Nope. And she, every day, I'm not going to do it. But every night she imagined doing it. Because at night, what you think about seeps into the shadow. And the shadow is the one driving the bus. So what happens is if you go to bed thinking I'm broke, I need money, how am I going to do this? There's no money. But all day long, you're like, I'm going to manifest money. I'm going to manifest money. And no, you need to flip that. You need to, every night before you go to bed, think about, like, imagine it to the, like, if you want a new car, imagine driving it, touch the, look at the color, like, make it so real that your subconscious literally is like, this is real, because it doesn't know the difference.
What do you think about, is it called savants? The ones that can, like, see things? Is that what they're called?
Savants or
they're usually,
clairvoyants.
Savants are usually people who are really intelligent in specific areas.
Yeah, and they're sometimes like...
So what is it when people can see things before they happen?
Like prophets or clairvoyant, psychics?
Maybe clairvoyant is the right word. So this happens a lot in my family, particularly with myself, my wife, and our kids. And it was so weird. I'm looking for it right now. And this happens. This is just an example of what happens. I'll be thinking about something and my son will say it. This could be like over the phone, not even in the same place. I was at work. I'm trying to find it right now.
This is happening more and more. Because we are consciously waking up, and when people are connected consciously, they can communicate psychically. And so you'll think a thought. Like in my community, I literally could think like, oh, I need coffee, and somebody will walk in. Now, that's a little iffy because I drink a lot of coffee, so people bring me coffee all the time. But there'll be times where I'll say like, oh, I should have told so-and-so to do X, Y, and Z. And they'll walk in and say, hey, just letting you know I did X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I didn't even have to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an increased connection.
And it's happening more and more. Like the common person is finding that they feel more psychic. They feel more like time is speeding up. They're noticing that they can't gauge time the way they used to gauge time. That things are happening faster. Like they'll think of something and then it happens faster.
Here it is. And I feel like when I talk about it, I feel like it makes it slow down. So I don't like to talk about it, but we're kind of having this conversation. Yeah. So I'm like, So I scheduled some trips since I'm not working this summer. I scheduled some trips with the family, and one of them is I want to go to Yellowstone for a week. We've been there before, but we dig it. It's a lot of cool stuff to look at. So I was texting in the family text. I said, what do you guys think about going to Yellowstone for a few days this summer? I think that's, one of my sons says, I think that sounds fun. I'd like to do that. This is while I'm still at work, and I'm kind of knowing this. I'm planning this for the summer. I said, cool. I will book for, I don't want to say the time because I don't want to, not that I'm like going to get doxxed or anything, but so I said, I'll book it for 5 nights. I ended up booking it for 6, but, and so we start joking about the end of the world, Yellowstone blowing up while we're there and all that. And I send them a clip from Yellowstone, the movie, when Woody Harrelson's on the mountain going, yes, the end is here, where he's yelling at all the stuff coming at him or whatever. It looks beautiful, doing that whole scene. And then, so we're joking, we're sending texts, joking. He said, what if it erupts while we're there? We are dead. I said, no way, man. Your dad will be like John Cusack and get his family out of there. Because John Cusack was the dad in that movie. Like, it's all exploding. They're on the RV, then they're in the plane. And I'm like, no way, dude. I'm like John Cusack. I'm going to get us out of there. He said, can we drive faster than a volcano erupting? He said, Chuck Norris. So he said, can we drive faster than a volcano erupting? Chuck Norris. He's like, boom, threw Chuck Norris in there. I said, do you want to see something crazy? I said, look at my browsing history from 8 minutes before you mentioned Chuck Norris.
You were looking up Chuck Norris?
I was looking at, for some reason, I looked up Chuck Norris. And I'm not even home. He's on his phone. I don't know if he was at school or home. I was at work.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck? And he responds telepathic. But but he's, whatever. But it's just that weird. It's like Chuck Norris is nowhere in the conversation of Yellowstone, Eruption. Sure, Woody Harrelson, John Cusack, that movie. I think that was 2012 was the movie. I think all of that. Chuck Norris has nothing to do with that movie or anything.
No, but it was in your. He picked up on your consciousness.
How?
We communicate on wave frequencies, and so they used to think ESP was like what do they call it? Like more like particles, but now they're realizing it's waves. And so when people are in the same level of consciousness, and again, because we are waking up collectively, it's becoming more and more, it's like easier now. And I think because the veil, because of the time, the prophecies, the time, the way time is moving, everything's changing, and we collectively know that humanity's shifting in some way. And when that happens, there's more and more kids coming in that are more psychic, that don't talk right away. They have they have verbal issues young, when they're young, and it's because they're psychic. They're like, I can communicate telepathically on waves. I don't need to necessarily say. And so we're just, as you go into higher states of consciousness as a whole, we then are able to tap more and more into those gifts, and it becomes more and more natural. So this is just the beginning. I think like it'll
I believe that too. The U.S. government, look it up, Michael. The U.S. government had a program, and this was years ago, right? So this is like
the GATE program,
where they had people who could...
Yeah.
Oh, I had a visceral... Let me tell you how mad I was about that. I had a visceral, freak out when I started. I was found this TikTok video, and they're like, oh, do you guys remember in school they used to take the gifted kids out of class and do all these tests and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then they gave us this pill after. And I was like...
Pill?
Yeah. So I go... I was in that thing. And they're like, remember they used to test your hearing? But they're like, I don't think it was hearing. I think it was frequencies. So they used to do these hearing tests on us, but I think they were sending frequencies to see what we could hear.
What?
Yeah. Oh, no. Let me tell you. And then they had...
I think I remember doing a hearing test, but I don't remember anything about a pill.
Yeah. They gave you either a pill or this drink, this banana... flavored. So there was a couple of things.
What are you saying right now?
Some people were saying that the pill that you chew this pill and it was supposed to see if you had fluoride on your teeth. Mm-hmm. But then they said there was also this banana drink or this flavored drink that they would give us after these tests. And so all these people saw it for, you're like, okay, but then you see video after video after video, hundreds of comments like, what the hell? You just woke me up to something that I haven't thought about. Oh my God, what were they doing to us?
Why did they do a hearing test?
So what they did, I think it was a frequency. So
but I don't remember that happening with my kids.
No,
this was back when
this was
the
from
80s or 90s or something.
The late 60s to the
I don't
early
recall
90s.
This ever happening to me.
So what they did is they took kids that they had a certain type of kid they were looking for. Leaders, intuitive, gifted. And they would pull them out. And so I asked, so check this out. My aunt comes over. She just happened to come over like that day. And she's like my second mom. So I said, hey, do you remember me being in this gateway program or GATE program? And I said, they'd pull me out of school and da-da. She's like, oh yeah. And I was like, did anybody say she was like, no, they just said it was for gifted kids. And I was like, and I was literally like sick to my stomach. I
pulled you out of the school?
Pulled you out of class and put you in a room.
Yeah, out of class, not out of the school.
No, but they put you in a room.
Right.
With the windows covered. And they ran all these tests. And it was psychic tests, remote viewing. They'd give you these things. Everything they did in those, I teach now. So talk about programming when you're a child. I teach remote viewing. I teach how to be more clairvoyant.
Remote viewing, that's the program that the government had.
That's the program you were talking about.
Yeah.
So remote
where they
viewing,
could see things.
Yes. So remote viewing is a real thing. They used that program to spy on other countries because they could literally say, okay, give us the coordinates of this office. They'd give them the coordinates and tell me what's on the desk.
Documents.
Yep. remote viewing is fascinating. I teach it and I love it, but real professionals, there's a couple of videos I've seen where the remote viewers, they gave them coordinates like in the sky, and those UFO guys go looking outside to see if they see any craft, and at the same time they're remote viewing and they're outside and they see the craft in broad daylight. They see a craft, they mark the coordinates, whatever. The remote viewer then is at the table remote viewing what they saw, and they'll say like, I saw this ship, da da da, and these people are like, we saw it on the mountaintop, like we're on the mountain, we saw it, same time, same coordinates. But then the remote viewer is like, I saw 3 beings, this is what they look like, this is what the panel inside the craft looked like. They could see inside the craft and give full detail of who, what, where, and everything.
So yeah, you got to think that in no way would the U.S. government spend that amount of time and money on something if they weren't getting something out of it.
It was a real thing.
Why would you waste?
It was a real thing. Yeah, I have a friend who has a mentor who was a remote viewer for years. She was she's like teaches like spiritual stuff, and yeah, it's a real thing. She worked for them.
She was a remote viewer for
She was for the U.S. government.
Really?
Yeah, for years. Yeah.
Dude, I want her on the podcast.
Yeah, and let me tell, I think she's passed. I think she's passed. And the reason I know who she is, so long story short, he was my acupuncturist that became my friend, and she messaged him one day. She remote viewed him, and she said, who is this person you're with all the time? Who's this young girl?
She doesn't even have to answer the door at her house.
No.
Someone knocks, she's
like... And so he he told her who I was, and she wrote back and gave me all this information. This was way years ago when I was young, and she's like, she needs to be a healer, she needs to do this and this. She's like, she read me completely from, and she was in like Taiwan at the time. She lived in Asia. She lived in some Asian country at the time.
So
she was
trippy.
Retired. Yeah. So, but the GATE program is that was a CIA program that they were testing kids to see if they were gifted for remote viewing, for psychic stuff.
I thought I remember the hearing test and then pictures of some sort. I do not remember a pill or a drink.
They were cards. Well, a lot of people will say, why do we all only remember the same things? No one remembers anything else. And there was always a guy like in a suit in the room.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was like always some stranger that was there.
I thought they were just doing tests in school.
That's what a lot of us thought.
And I didn't remember it until you said it right now. Like I never thought about this.
Yeah,
because it seems like normal school stuff.
You should look it on TikTok. No, they pulled certain kids out, and they did it from like the late 60s to the early 90s, from what I gathered.
It's funny. Was it actually called the GATE
program? Or Gateway? Yeah.
Because the government program was called Project Stargate. That was the official one.
For the kids one?
No, that was the official one where they worked with psychics.
For the remote viewing.
Yeah,
see?
So that's interesting that it was called GATE or something.
Yes, because they were looking for us for a future. Yeah, it was trippy.
I must have not passed the...
Yeah, and it was the cards that were like, your psychic cards. Like they'd show you shapes.
I didn't get the banana drink.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this fucking kid. Send them back to class.
You know what we wondered is, did they wipe out a memory? Like, what did that drink do to us? Did it calcify the pineal gland? Like, were they trying? Did it erase our memory? Why can none of us, hundreds of kids, are like only remember a few things, and we all remember the same things?
How did we get to this point?
And the CIA, there's a video out that literally says, "In the CIA," blah, blah, blah. And then we're like, and then when I asked my mom, I was so mad at my parents. I was like, you guys didn't question. They were like, no, they said you were gifted. And so they just took you out of class and did some stuff. And I was like, yeah, I think they were trying to brainwash me or take something out of my brain. I don't know. I was just teasing them. But I'm like, this is like, I think parents should have had some consent. They should have been told what was actually happening.
What if they extracted some type of fluid that these kids have in their brain?
I'm telling you.
It's like this very rare, special sauce.
Well, the pineal gland sits in a sac of water and crystals, And that's I call it your GPS. That's your God connection. That's your psychic. Your third eye is here, but the pineal gland is in the back, in between the two hemispheres of the brain. It sits like up under there. And it's the size of a grain of rice, and it's the shape of a pine cone. And if you look at all the ancient...
What's it called?
Pineal or pineal gland, depends on. I say pineal because it's shaped like a pine cone, and all the traditions all over the world, churches, temples, they have pine cones everywhere.
It's probably why they call it a
pineal
gland.
And it's the size of a piece of rice. It's teeny tiny. But what the belief is they put fluoride in our water to calcify that. See? They put fluoride in the water to calcify the pineal gland. So sometimes I wonder if that drink was a calcification.
So your pineal gland, also called the pineal body, or epiphysis cerebri.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Epiphysis. Cerebri. Am I saying that?
Yeah.
Correctly? Is a tiny gland in your brain that's located beneath the back part of your corpus
callosum.
It is part of your endocrine system. Endocrine, sorry. System, and secretes the hormone. The hormone melatonin. The pineal gland main job is to help control I'm squinting here.
Circadian cycle. So melatonin is produced to help you sleep. So the pineal gland is shaped like a tiny pine cone, which got its name pineal gland, or is pronounced pineal gland.
So it's your sleep, your circadian cycle of sleep,
yes,
and wakefulness both actually, your whole day.
Yeah, it causes melatonin, gets you in your circadian rhythm.
Oh.
But it's known as like the psychic. It's like where your intuition comes from.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So when people are in process with me, one of the things I do is decalcify that, because the belief is that they've been putting fluoride in our water and calcify, because if people's pineal gland is calcified, you don't get the signals and you lose your sense of like intuition. So you become very easy to program and to become a sheep. You'll just follow whatever is told because you don't have a sense of your own intuitive movement. So I look back and think, I wonder if that's what they were, or they were giving us a Men in Black eraser moment. You won't, here's some pizza and a drink, and you won't remember this after today.
Well, hopefully we find out.
Which is really creepy. And it's just, when you see hundreds of other people saying the same thing, it's like, oh, okay, this isn't just my imagination.
Yeah, but a lot of people latch on to certain things too.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know.
No.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking for 3 hours.
Are you kidding?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
3 hours.
Yeah.
I thought 2 maybe.
We didn't even get into aliens, flat Earth, or the whatever you want to call them, the energy columns underneath the pyramid. So it sounds like you might have to come back.
I'll have to come back
at some point. And we didn't see any of your pictures from the trip.
Then I'll definitely have to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we sure know what you two were programmed to experience.
Yeah, we dug deep today.
You got a little bit of dug deep in your psyche.
Yeah, I didn't care that we got off topic. I mean, I think it's all good stuff.
No, I love that.
And you're great. So
thank you.
I was okay with following you down that path.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys and all your listeners. And we'll have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome. Wow, 3 hours. I thought 2 for sure.